morning everybody, my name is Bernie, welcome back to my channel. And today we're out in the west of Wanaka. As you can see, Mount Aspiring just there behind me. But what's even more exciting is we have the brand new Fujifilm X-S20, and we have to be careful this morning because this is still under embargo. This is quite a while before the release date. So not final firmware, but getting pretty close to it. But if you have any questions, I have had this camera or access to it for months now. So it's not just an off-the-cuff review. I've been able to use it, put it through its paces, and I know the camera inside and out. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comment section below. Otherwise, let's get into it. Let's have a look what this camera can do for stills, vlogging, and video. Alrighty, now before we get into shooting with the camera today, let's have a look at some of the specs. So the X-S20 comes with the current X-Trans 4 sensor, so the 26.1 megapixel sensor, but it does have the brand new X processor 5, which is the same as the XH2, XH2S, and the XT5. So you're getting a lot of power behind this unit. It also has 7 stops of image stabilization, so that's quite an increase on the X-S10. So you know you can use this quite effectively without a tripod. The battery life is the biggest plus for me. So it has the new W235 battery, which means you're getting 750 shots now, as opposed to 325 on the X-S10. Now some other notable features is this does have the latest AF algorithm. So the firmware 3.0 on the XH2S, it has that same AF algorithm. So you're getting subject detection that is extremely usable. So bird, plane, train, car, animal, and then obviously face and eye as well. So this is extremely good news, given that I've always been a big fan of this body, and it may mean that if you're looking for a more affordable camera, but you want it to be able to perform for wildlife, sport, or even just detecting portraits and eyes and faces, this could be a great option. This also comes with SR Auto, so scene recognition, but the biggest improvement here is you don't need to select the subject detection. You can, if you'd like, if you're targeting birds and use the bird subject detection, but what it means if you put it on the SR Auto, it will detect planes, trains, cars, birds, people in the scene without you having to specifically tell it what to look for, which is quite cool, especially if you're just starting out with a new system or as a beginner photographer. You also get the same one SD card slot, which goes in the bottom of the camera near the battery, so nothing's changed there. You're getting 8 frames a second using a mechanical shutter, with higher frame rates for electronical shutter, but I've always been a fan of using mechanical shutter for things like wildlife and moving subjects, as obviously you're not going to get that rolling shutter effect. You're also getting the 19 film simulations, so if you're a fan of film simulations and you like shooting JPEGs in camera, this would be a great option, especially if you're one of those thousands of people trying to get your hands on an X100V. Maybe look at the X-S20 and pair it with a 27mm or a 23 f2. And it's only going to weigh 491 grams with a card and a battery, so it's great. Super portable, small and lightweight, so although they've included a whole lot of new tech, they've got a new battery in there. It's not going to weigh too much more than the current X-S10. Let's talk about a couple of use cases for the X-S20. It's using the same 26.1 megapixel sensor as the current model, the X-S10, or the X-T3, X100V, X-T4, all incredible cameras. So in terms of using it for landscape, which is what I prominently do with a bit of wildlife thrown in, it's a fantastic option. I've taken some of my favorite photos, even some recent photos from my Japan trip in February, all using that 26 megapixel sensor, the X-Trans sensor 4. So in terms of usability for landscape, it's a fantastic option. If you're out hiking, if you're doing a lot of travel, being that it is so nice and lightweight, it pairs, extremely well with that kind of use case. And I've always been a huge fan of this protruding grip, because given it's so small and lightweight, using this grip here, you can really get down low, you can maneuver it around even without a strap, although I'd always recommend you do use a strap. Yeah, So a fantastic thing. So I've got a scene set up here with a big boulder in front of me here, the mountains in the background with a little bit of snow. It's just started down here in Wanaka, and then you can just see the colourful stones in the water at my feet. So I am actually standing in the water at the moment. Hopefully my shoes are still waterproof, and I should be able to see those stones in the water as well. So yeah, there's not much to say about the X-S20 as a landscape camera. If you look at any X-T3, X-T4, X-S10 review, X100V, same sensor, you're going to get a very similar result. Given it's got the new processor 5, that may help, and better stabilization at 7 stops. You know, you will get better results handheld, but in terms of the overall image quality, it's a perfect use case for landscape photography. Like I said, I've also been out shooting the Aurora recently with the X-S20. Although I got there a little bit late, you can still see that beautiful green glow in the background, and you know, the images are relatively clean. I shot that with the 30mm macro, not what I would choose for astrophotography, but you know, it performed better than I expected. Alrighty, now in terms of its autofocus, as discussed before, it's got subject detection with the latest 3.0 firmware that the XH2S has. So you can do things like, you know, birds, cars, trains, planes, and animals as well as a separate piece. And it performs extremely well. So the actual subject detection seems to be really sticky. It'll find the animal, the bird, whatever the subject is in the scene, and the tracking is very good as well. Now, keep in mind, it's not going to be as good as the XH2S, which is what I'm filming on right now, and that is because it's not a stacked sensor. So it's your standard X-Trans APS-C sensor, whereas the XH2S has a stacked layer sensor, so it's reading on multiple different layers at the same time. So in terms of the actual tracking of a subject, the XH2S, you know, is still going to be a number one. But there's a huge price difference, obviously. So in terms of, you know, wildlife, sports, things like that, or even just, you know, portraits where your subject's, you know, moving and you want to track the eye and the face, this does an extremely good job. But if you want something with that ultimate sticking ability and tracking throughout the scene, then your XH2S is still going to be the way to go. And then taking that into the video side of things, because I've been using this to film wildlife, both at slow motion and also at 4 and 6K. Alright, now looking at this from a video side of things, the X-S20 can shoot at 6.2K resolution, which is incredible value for the price, at a 3.2 crop. So slightly different, but quite cool if you're looking to do vertical and horizontal format videos, because you can do, you know, things like stories, shorts, or you can do your long form video format as well from the same footage. Slow motion footage it's still only high definition, so just be aware, you know, if you're looking to do a lot of slow motion imagery, yeah, you might need to have a think about what's going to be the most important thing. Is it long form, you know, 6.2K, or is it the ability to shoot slow motion at 4K like I can do on the XH2S? And the subject detection for video has been really great as well. Obviously being able to detect my subject, especially when it is an animal like a bird or a rabbit, you know, whatever else we might be videoing, and actually tracking it through the scene without having to pull focus manually or try and autofocus myself, has been an absolute dream, and it's been, you know, quite a great experience as well. So yeah, again, you know, having the ability to take the X-S10 and just improve it quite drastically with the autofocus, the battery life, and the video, you know, just makes this a worthwhile look at, and something you should really, you know, consider if you're looking for a new camera system, especially in the X lineup. So unfortunately, due to the weather this morning, we've had to bring this review inside and finish up here, but you know, that's okay. We've kind of completed everything we wanted to out there. So another great thing to note, if you are a videographer or somebody looking to get into videography or using this as a hybrid camera for both photo and video, is this camera also has the cooling fan compatibility. So with the 2 screws here on the back plate here, you can attach the cooling fan and use that if you're doing longer shoots, especially given that this camera does 6.2K. If you're in the outdoors, if you're doing longer shoots and you want to make sure that this doesn't overheat, then buying that fan I think is a worthy investment, so you don't have any issues on the set. And it's also great if you're looking to get an XH2S and you're wanting to grab one of these as a second body. It means that those accessories are interchangeable. All right, so another big inclusion for the X-S20 over the X-S10 is vlog mode. Now this is something they've actually built in to the dial system here, so it is a selection option over video, manual, things like that. And once you click that on, it gives you a different screen interface once you touch the vlog button on the screen, and it comes up with 6 different options. And those 6 options are self-timer, face and eye detection, product photography mode, IS mode, so IBIS or OIS, high speed record, so slow motion, and also background defocus mode. So quite an interesting way to go. I guess with this camera, a lot of creators are going to be using this as a vlogging option, and I know I've been doing that with mine as I've had it, and I think that this is a really nice touch, and it's something that I really hope that comes into the XH2S and the XT5 XH2. Obviously they can't build it into the dial, but they could put it as an additional feature, because when you are vlogging and you've up here you're talking to camera, the last thing you want to have to do is try and select menus, kind of figuring out what's going on the top of it. Having these ability to change things with a touch on the user interface here makes the world of difference. So things like face and eye detections, I think great. The product priority mode is great. So if you do hold up a product in front of the camera, it will actually start to prioritize that camera or the product rather than the face, the eyes, the person behind the camera, which is really good when you're doing things like this, a gear review. Excellent. Well, look, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it gives you an insight into what the X-S20 is all about. Now, please keep in mind this is only an initial review. Although I've had access to this for months, I've been able to collaborate with other photographers and creatives. I've still got a lot to work out in regards to this camera, and the official specs kind of haven't been released. Although we get a lot of information from the team overseas, we don't get all the information because the final firmware isn't out just yet. So if you do have any questions, I'm a great source of information, so please pop them down in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya.